Jacksonville moves further into the process of creating a budget for the new fiscal year. City Council is poring over the numbers and beginning the debate over Mayor Donna Deegan's list of priorities. The mayor joins us today as we get her perspective. Plus, changes to the state of Florida cabinet with a new CFO. Will the governor's Doge mission come to Duval County? We're also looking at ways to overcome changes to the funding for the Emerald Trail, all on This Week in Jacksonville. Glad you're with us and grateful. Mayor Donna Deegan joining us today. Almost 2 weeks since you delivered your budget proposal to City Council, so welcome to you.
Has it been 2 weeks?
Almost,
oh my
right?
Gosh.
Yeah. So what we know is, and thank you for providing this, what we know is a budget is a list of priorities.
It's a value statement.
Tell me about this. I guess we're at $2 billion for the proposal for the budget cycle starting in October.
Yeah, look, you know, this is the people's budget. We had, as you recall, a series of town hall meetings all over the city and said, tell us what's important to you. Tell us what you want us to spend your tax dollars on. And as you will be not surprised about it all, there were a lot of the same answers. People wanted us to do more about their potholes and their sidewalks and to make sure that their roads were in good shape, and they wanted to feel safe in their homes, and they wanted to make sure that there were health programs in place for them. And they, you know, all the things they told us. Public safety was obviously top of mind, as it usually is. All those things fed into what we decided to do with this budget. So we came into the year you know, knowing it was going to be a tight budget year. But even with the growth that we have seen in our community, we were able to keep our government the same size, and we were able to fund all the priorities people told us were important to them. You know, it's tight, but we were able to do it.
Well, in certain ways, it sounds like a win, because several months ago we're talking about things like what we're going to invest in the stadium renovation and whatever you said. And next year looks like it might be a lot tighter.
Yeah.
Not as tight maybe as those projections looked like a year ago.
Well, look, we got the big rocks through, right? And there's a lot of things that are being funded by the community benefits agreement and things like that, infrastructure projects, some of the things that we talked about on the east side and other things. So we are really looking at a budget that is very, very large in public safety. And of course, we knew that would happen, right? Because we gave those historic pay raises and we went back to a defined pension. So it's important that we fund those things. And we thought, in talking to our community, what they really wanted to see beyond that was make sure those quality of life issues for us. Keep mowing those lawns, keep making sure we put, I think, a 56% increase into the amount of infrastructure that we are doing in people's neighborhoods, because they felt like that wasn't happening fast enough.
Well, you've touted the fact that this budget proposal doesn't require the city to dip into financial reserves.
No reserves.
At least partly because of that one-time agreement with JEA increasing the utilities.
Yeah, but this is important too. We took that one-time JEA money and we paid off one-time expenses with it. Commitments that we had either made or previous administrations had made that hadn't been completely dispensed with, and we made sure that we used that money for that, so there wouldn't be some sort of recurring expectancy for that. And I think that's an important piece to note about that. But yeah, that was good to have that. And obviously we're looking at a couple of tight budget years ahead, but I know there's a discussion right now on council about what to do with the property tax rate. We suggested leave it where it is. It's by far the lowest millage rate in the state of Florida for any large city. And when we love that, as I say all the time, we love that. At the end of the day, though, it's barely covering what we do with police and fire right now. And as we continue to move into these both raises and pension, you know, that will get tighter and tighter. So we want to make sure we can maintain the quality of life for our citizens. So that millage rate is good. We're not asking for an increase in it, but I think to look at decreasing it, as we're hearing the discussion right now, would really be looking at mortgaging our future.
Yeah, so, and some of the details there, City Council voted 17-1 this last Tuesday, capping the city's millage rate. And that's the number used to calculate property tax bills. And then for the fiscal year, 11.3169. So $11 per $1,000 of assessed taxable value. Sometimes it's hard to keep track. What's a millage rate? How does that all work?
Well, but think of it like this. You know, nobody likes taxes, right? We all wish we didn't have to pay them. But what I say is, you know, if you have a fire at your home and you want the fire department to show up, or you'd like the police to come and show up when you have problems, this is what we all contribute to make sure that our roads are paved and that we have those public safety things that we need, and all of the things that our community needs. That's what that goes toward. And if you even if you cut it by the slightest amount, you're saving your taxpayers maybe $1 a month, maybe a little bit over $1 a month on their property tax bill, but you're taking millions out of things like public safety. So I think we're going to have that conversation here, I think, over the next couple of months to make sure at the very least people understand where their tax rate is. It's very low compared to everybody else around the state that's our size or around our size. And then the fact that we have so many quality of life issues that we need to fund here that are critical needs.
One of the things mentioned on the city's fiscal outlook here, I'm looking at the note here, top tier, AA+ rating from Fitch.
Yeah.
What does that mean to the person who lives here in Duval?
Well, what it means is you have the rating agencies that tell you, what is your fiscal health like? What does your financial health look like? And they looked at our books and they said, you guys are doing a great job. The city is growing. You've got great economic development. We're one of the hottest job markets in the country. You've got a lot of money in reserves. You've done very well. We've implemented those lean programs where we've reduced the amount of hours that we're wasting, and we've actually been able to level off the way government is growing, right? So that didn't grow any this year, even though our city grew by 17,000 people. So they gave us that AA+ rating because we're in great fiscal shape. But it's also another argument for why, we should probably keep it status quo so that we're not in a situation where we get into the next budget year and the budget year after that, and we're saying, how are we funding public safety? How are we funding our police and fire?
That wouldn't be a fun place to be next year or any year.
Well, but why that's important to people at home is we have to borrow money as a city in order to pay for things. That's a simple way of saying, what we have to go bond certain things. And so this is what allows us to borrow money at a cheaper rate, getting those really fantastic AA+ ratings.
So a little bit of a high overview here. The mayor's staying with us our entire show today. And so from the budget's big picture to some specific spending priorities, our conversation with Mayor Donna Deegan continues next on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan is with us today. I wanted to talk a little bit about Emerald Trail. Here's this project that doesn't matter which political party you're in. You're like, this is great for Jacksonville.
Great for Jacksonville, great economic development tool, great for the neighborhoods.
And then we just saw, though, that the governor's budget crossed out some funding, or there was some federal funding.
Federal funding.
There was federal funding, I apologize, that was not coming because of this big, beautiful bill stuff. Where does that stand for Emerald Trail? Does it mean we have to pause? Do we have to find different funding? Where do you go with that as a city?
Well, look, obviously we were unhappy to lose that money. It was the largest grant we've ever received in our city's history, and we're going to go back and try to get that money still. So we're not giving up on that. It's different administrations, different priorities, right? So what we're hearing about this administration is that if we make an economic development argument, which is a very easy argument to make, to get this money, we may be able to get it in smaller tranches. And the way that Emerald Trail funding was going to work, it wasn't that we weren't going to get a check for $147 million. We would complete a leg, and they would reimburse us, complete and reimburse. So we already have a funding mechanism for some of it. So we're going to continue on with what we're doing, but what we'll do is we'll work with Congressman Rutherford and Congressman Bean, and we'll go after these tranches of economic development grants, and they're all in to help us do that. So we will continue this work. What was nice about that was that it gave us the opportunity to finish 5 years earlier. And so that may not happen unless we're able to continue to get that funding continually rolling in.
The possibility is it slows it down a little bit.
It may slow down the final completion date, but the construction will continue on. I don't think the average person's going to notice a difference in terms of our pace right now. But we will eventually have to go after additional grants to fund the Emerald Trail. We will, though. Everybody's all in lockstep that we need to get this thing completely funded and done.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement about it.
It really is.
I said. So I'm looking at your budget highlights that I've got here in front of me.
on your handy dandy placemat.
It's very, very nice.
easy to read.
For a placemat, but it's got a lot of information right here, right in front of us. What among these things would you say, boy, I'm really excited about this, because there's a dozen, looks like, different items here that we could talk about.
Well, listen, honestly, we as I said, we moved so many big rocks with the stadium and with the community benefits agreement and all the things that we've done for this first couple of years. And so the goal is to make sure that all those things we funded continue to be completed in a timely manner so that we really do have the funding and it doesn't, draw out and cost us more money. But the other thing is, obviously, the public safety thing was really big for me. I wanted to make sure we gave police and fire those raises that they really needed. And I think it's really helped with recruiting. So I think that's important.
That was something we were hearing before was, hey, the way the 401k kind of system or the benefits weren't competitive with other places.
And we need to make sure that our city is safe. It's job number one, right? So the youth and literacy programs are obviously incredibly important to me. We're continuing to fund those. Honestly, I love the idea that we're putting, an additional $1 million into litter and blight. We've started the Jacksonville Litter League. We're putting money into cleaning up our city. Again? The Litter League, the Jacksonville Litter League, and we're asking the community to get involved with us, and they'll get to go and the shrimp are partnering with us on that. They'll get whoever wins that cleans up the most will end up getting some special treatment from the shrimp. But at the end of the day, a lot of this is meat and potatoes. We really wanted to dig in on all those infrastructure projects that people really wanted to see. They want to see those septic tanks come out of the ground. They want to see those sidewalks get paved. And we heard that over and over again. We've got potholes that you guys aren't filling. It's a big city.
Yeah, right.
But
Yes.
That's why we said, okay, let's up that. Let's make sure that we're doing that at a faster pace. So I'm excited about that. The health initiatives have really moved the dial. That HealthLink Jax program, which is a program for the uninsured, has helped save over $5 million in emergency room costs so far and connected a lot of people to care. So we think that's really important. But I think Chris Hand called my budget vanilla, which is really not an insult, because we have had so many big, expensive, flashy things that we've had to invest in to make sure downtown could go and make sure that the stadium could go and all those things. And this year was really let's just make sure that we're keeping everything going in the way that it needs to go. So I wouldn't say there's anything flashy in here, but there are a lot of things that meet the needs. People said, please help us with affordable housing. So we've put some plans in for that. So there's all sorts of things. Yeah, they're really key topics for people's lives. And we'll keep listening. We're going to go out for another series of meetings about the budget here right after Labor Day.
Okay. Let me shift topics a little bit. Monday, Governor Ron DeSantis picked a new CFO, Blaise Ngolia. And part of what they're talking about is that, and he's a very conservative lawmaker, but they're going to use the CFO position to, do audits on, as they put it, any entity that receives any state funding, pretty much every municipality and county government. These audits are going to come quickly. We're seeing them already announced in Gainesville and I think Fort Lauderdale. Is that something that would come toward Duval County or the city of Jacksonville? How do you meet that or prepare for that? Is there any anxiety about that?
Listen, as I've said, we already do an independent audit every year. We're not fearful of that. In fact, we've already worked with the state Doge. I think they've come to us 3 times asking for different information. We've been working with them, providing them with everything that they need. I think that the cities they seem to have spent most time in are cities that have increased their taxes, and we haven't done that. I don't know what the future will hold with that, but so far they've been working with us and we've been cooperating with them, and we'll continue to do that.
So the state Doge effort, is that at all similar to what you just mentioned, lean effort here in the city of Jacksonville?
Well, I think the lean effort that we're doing here in the city of Jacksonville is our effort to make sure that we are the most efficient we can possibly be so that we can continue to provide the critical needs for people in Jacksonville. I think what I don't want to see us do is go in and cut a lot of critical services when we don't need to do that to meet a number. It's not something that we should be doing, because we are the government, and I say this all the time. Local government is the government closest to the people. We're the customer service people. We're the ones that are, as I said, that we're paving your roads. We're making sure that you can get from point A to point B. And we need to make sure that we continue to do that. We're not the state government. We're not the federal government. And I don't want us to act that way. I want to make sure that we are taking in the money only that we need to take in, but that we're continuing to provide a better quality of life for people in Jacksonville. And I think so far we've been able to do that.
All right, Mayor Donna Deegan sticking around with us for our final segment coming up as we get into some of the topics beyond the budget. So stay with us. More coming up on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4.
Mayor Donna Deegan with us this morning. So we've been talking about some of your proposed budgets, some of the spending priorities. Wanted to get to some other topics this morning as well. One of those, certainly in news here, Jacksonville man's traffic stop made national headlines this week. Stop happened back in February, but this driver shared a cell phone video of it just a week ago. Went viral, certainly sparked some controversy. The cell phone video shows an officer punching the window out next to 22-year-old Will McNeil Jr., then punching McNeil before he's yanked out of the car there. Monday, Jacksonville Sheriff P.K. Waters, he released officer body cam video of the incident. Also said that the state attorney's office found no officers violated any criminal law. McNeil has retained nationally known civil rights attorneys Benjamin Crump and Harry Daniels. Those attorneys are saying that they're exploring every legal possibility to bring justice for their client. And after that news conference Wednesday, the sheriff's office released a statement saying that the agency wouldn't offer any other comments since McNeil has retained legal counsel. Litigation now expected. I would imagine there's a limited amount that you can say, but what's your reaction to seeing this for a citizen of Jacksonville and that public safety that is getting a lot of funding here for Duval County residents?
Well, look, obviously it's a disturbing video to watch. There's no question about that. I think that people get frustrated because there has to be a process of evaluation. And I know, and I'm not going to say people don't see what they see. That's not my point. I think some people have expressed frustration that I haven't, been more outraged or whatever it is. I am a very pragmatic thinker when it comes to how these things go, and it's not to diminish whatever happened there. I'm simply saying that there has to be an investigative process. And right now what we are doing is we're in the middle of that investigative process. And so all I can say at this point is that I have faith that that process will be carried out and we'll see where it goes. But I can't really say much beyond that because there is a lawsuit that may happen. And I obviously I am not privy to what's going on in that investigation, and I don't want to talk out of school. I do want to remind people because, we are hearing from, we have literally probably heard from thousands of people who are very upset that I'm not taking some sort of action or whatever. I want people to remember that in our consolidated government, we have an elected mayor and elected sheriff. And I think it is my job to run the city. It is his job to run the police department. And I think he comes out, and I give him credit for this. He comes out and he says exactly what it is. He shows the video. He shows the body cam videos. However you feel about this, I think that the sheriff has come out and tried to be as transparent as he can with the process. And so he can't make that process go any faster than that process is going. And I think that I would just ask people to be a little patient. I understand the angst. I understand the upset. I get all of that. But at the end of the day, let's wait and see where it all goes. And, hopefully there's a good resolution.
Thank you for weighing in on that. I know it's a hot topic right now, so I needed to ask. Let me ask about something else. Jacksonville City Councilman Jimmy Peluso, he's talking about 5 Points neighborhood, wants them to have their own district here. Really, we were talking before our show started. There are so many different neighborhoods in Jacksonville that really are unique. Have you heard about what Councilman Peluso is proposing here, or why he wants to make this its own kind of district?
We really haven't discussed it. Councilman Peluso has so much of what we are doing in downtown Jacksonville that ends up being most of our conversation is about what's going on in downtown. But we do. We have so many incredibly interesting neighborhoods in Jacksonville, and I love that you guys are exploring those as well. I think it's fun. So many people, if you grow up, I grew up in the San Jose area. I couldn't have told you anything beyond San Jose and Bishop Kenny. That was about the only things I knew about Jacksonville when I was growing up, right? And now I'm at the beach. But being a journalist, you get to see all those things. But it's so great that you guys are bringing the opportunity to Jacksonville to see all those different neighborhoods. But I don't know specifically about his plans, but
Yeah, we'll find out more.
But I'd love to find out more about it. Yeah.
Let me ask you about this.
It's a wonderful area.
There's a new city council president who said, yeah, I'm going to work strong. It's going to be great. We're going to work together with the mayor's office and whatever. But we also see that council president Carico has taken Jimmy Peluso, who's a Democrat, and then a Republican member of council, and kind of shuttered him, moved him off committees.
Yeah.
Do you have any concerns about what's ahead in this year of Council President Carico's tenure?
Listen, I will simply say that my interactions with him so far have been really good. You know, we sat down before we ever, you know, came out with a budget or anything this year, sat down with him, sat down with Finance Chair Raul Arias and talked over priorities. What are our shared priorities that we can move together with? And I think that so far, look, you know how it works. And I've said this to you a million times. Things go like this, right? Depending on what's happening. And that's politics. But I do think there are some good shared priorities that we're going to work on together. And things will be said. Because that's how all of this works. But at the end of the day, if you look at what we've been able to accomplish in this city, I would say 95% of our shared priorities have made it across the finish line. And I think if we continue to put our love for Jacksonville first, I think it's going to be fine. As far as the intramural stuff over there, you know, I'm not involved in that.
That's their side of the building.
That's their side of the building. I'd rather they fight with each other than fight with me. But no, I would love to see, you know, equal representation as much as possible on those committees. But at the end of the day, that is the prerogative of the council president. And hopefully Councilman Peluso and Councilman Carlucci will find other ways to make their voices heard.
Mayor Donna Deegan, thanks so much. And that's our time for our show today. Thank you so much for watching on air on Channel 4 and the CW17. We'll see you next week.
See why every day more people are choosing News 4 Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.